If you pay that kind of money, you should be able to tell this commission where the money is coming from, so that we will be able to ascertain that it's coming from whether it's your business, whether it's philanthropy, as you said, so that we are sure that that is where the money is coming from. So please answer the question.
Yes, I have answered the question. Explaining to the lead counsel, I have a private business, a multi-million dollars business. Before I was even mayor, and I lent Nuru money. I do lend people money if they're in need, and I lend Nuru money from the cash base of my business. But like I want to emphasize, it is my private business, and
Yes, let me just come in here. The the issue of private business and holding public office. Um, I believe that when you are a witness, we want to be sure. We want to be sure whether public funds are not used for for private business, and that is what the law says. And the commission has the mandate to find out and to be sure that the 2 million that is given to Mr. Gay is not uh, money coming from council. Did you get what I'm saying?
I can assure you it's not money coming from the council.
Yes.
So
So where is the money coming from? In which of your businesses is it coming from? You said it's cash that is paid to Mr. Gay. Is it Mr. Gay?
it's not.
Mr. Adams.
Yes. So,
From which of your businesses is that money coming from?
well, I have sought legal advice on this matter, Madam Chair,
Yes.
and what I'm told from my lawyers, unless lead counsel can prove that this money.
No, 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 no. Let's not get there. You see, when you want to tell this commission that you will answer question based on what you are legally advised, it becomes, I believe it becomes a bit difficult because our job is to find out and to be able to ascertain whether the money, it is not in the council's position to prove, it is for you to give us evidence.
Yes.
The council cannot prove to you. You have been asked a question, so it is for you to tell us. You understand? And it is your answer that will determine that we are satisfied with the answer you have given. So
So,
it cannot be based on what your legal advisors have given you to enable you to answer the question. The legal advisors can only advise you understand, on legal issues.
so what I'm telling the lead counsel, I have a multi-million dollars business.
Yes.
I turn over millions every day.
We understand you have said that.
Yes. So that's
Where is this one coming from, the 2 million?
that's
You know
that's.
this, you cannot trace it through bank transaction.
I have a cash-based business.
Yes, which is that? So you tell us.
Yes, it's called Sapporo Trading.
Okay.
It's an importation and distribution business. I generate millions of dollars a day. So what I'm telling lead counsel, it is a private business and has nothing to do with the council. I have not only lent money to you, I do lend money to people who need it if I'm in the position to do so. And he needed it and he paid me.
Council, can you proceed?
Now, did you declare your assets when you um, contested for the the position of mayor?
I believe so.
You believe so? Can we have a definitive answer, or you need time to find out?
I think there was a declaration, I can't remember. It was a long time ago, 2017.
2017. Okay, when you got re-elected in 2018, did you declare your assets?
Pardon?
When you got re-elected, did you declare your assets?
I don't believe so, no.
You don't?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. Now, it is along those lines as well that we ask these questions so that we get clarity in relation to the financial transactions. Now, just one last question on this. Are you in a position to provide proof of the source of the funds given to Nordin or not?
No, because it's a cash-based business.
All right, we'll take that answer.
Thank you.
Now,
Lead counsel, if I can just ask, because you referred to the financial manual,
right.
and I want to know what copy you have, because my copy, I'm not sure if it's the same.
Right.
Is it possible to see?
Yes, yes, sure. The manual you said. The manual or the act?
The manual, the one from, I think you said 2009.
Fine. Do you have a copy there?
Yes, so I wanted to bring to your attention, I did some findings. So the manual that was generated in 2009 was never gazetted. So it is not a regulation. I also discussed with the printing. They said it was never gazetted. So there's no legal notice. Also, I discussed with the people who generated. They said it was just generated by Gumworks for discussion. So it was never really used by councils because it was not gazetted. So it's not a regulation. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Maybe you can find out, or maybe you've already found out.
Very well. We will find out. In which case, in this case, if we are to now, the Local Government Act, Finance and Credit Act 2004 is binding.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the Local Government Act 2004 requires that all payments be cleared by the council,
Yes,
right?
Council, before you proceed, the Mayor Bensouda, you said the can you provide us with the evidence that this was not gazetted? One, let us have proof, just like you said you found out, but we will want to have proof that it's not gazetted, and then the also the fact that we have realized that the NAO office place reliance on the compliance of this manual by council. So I would want to know why would the National Audit Office and relevant institution rely on this if it is not a proper legal document? Let us have the evidence. Council, you may proceed.
Can I come in? Yes. So, like I said, I don't say I have evidence. I said I did my research because on the front page, there's no legal notice. On page 7, where it says signature of the minister, it is empty because that's the copy I have. So I was trying to find out, was it ever a regulation? So I called printing, they said no. I also checked with the council, the people who were there at the time. They said no. So that's why they said they created the KMC 2017 manual. That one is also not gazetted. But I was thinking maybe lead council had a different copy.
Well, Council, you may proceed.
Yes. Now, I've asked the question, the No Government Finance Audit Act 2004, whether it is binding and enforced, the winner says yes. Now, if we are to go by the Act 2004, section 13, can you please?
Section
13.
Mhm.
It says no appropriation of funds by a council shall be made out of the funds of the council unless it is approved in a budget. That is a law in the act, correct?
Yes, yes.
Good. Sub 2 reads no monies shall be withdrawn from the general fund account or any other accounts of the council unless the council has approved the withdrawal. This is also enforced, correct?
Yes.
Good. Now, so if let's assume we are to disregard the financial manual. Now, it means we are only left with 13 subsection 2, correct?
13 subsection
2, which requires that every dollar that is withdrawn from the general fund account or any other accounts of council must have, the council must approve first. Now, is this adhered to by the KMC?
money shall not be withdrawn from the general fund or any other accounts of council unless the council has approved withdrawal.
Yes.
Through its contracts committee and through the thresholds.
Now, this did not talk about threshold. If we are to disregard the financial manual, the financial manual is what talks about the threshold. So if we're to disregard it, it means we are only left with the act. Correct?
Yes.
And so if we're left with the act, then we cannot have thresholds because then it says clearly that council must approve. Now, not the mayor, not any other party, just the council. No money shall be withdrawn from the general fund account or any other accounts of the council unless the council has approved the withdrawal. That is the physical withdrawal. Checks are to be signed, council must approve.
Yes, that's why I said council approved that the CEO has a limit and the council has a limit. So technically the council has approved.
Okay, so that would not be contrary to the act because the act did not require that there be limits in relation to the withdrawals. It says council must approve every withdrawal.
That's why I said the council approved that the CEO can have limits and then the council can have limits.
And what will be the legality of that? If the council is to now bring in thresholds when the act clearly did not provide for threshold.
Because the council has the right as the spending officer to create thresholds.
Where is that?
Through resolutions.
No, where did it say that council can pass a resolution to come up with thresholds? Which resolution?
It's in the Local Government Act
Please
under resolution.
Please guide us through the act.
I don't have the section with me right now, but in the Local Government Act, council can create resolutions and council is the sole authority on its funds.
Yes, yes. Council has authority of its fund. In fact, it says financial autonomy of council. It is the Local Government Finance and Audit Act 2004, just a section before 13, that's 12. If you refer to 12, it reads, subject to the provisions of the act, this act and any other act, each council has autonomy over its financial matters, excluding salaries, allowances, and other emoluments. Right? Good. And so 13.1 says that no appropriation of funds by a council shall be made out of the funds of the council unless it is approved in a budget. Chapter 2 now talks about the withdrawal specifically. You will know that with legal advice, with respect, that where the law is very specific on an issue, then that is what takes precedence. So it is very specific in relation to withdrawals. Do you agree with this? Section 13.2 specifically talks about withdrawals.
Talks about withdrawals.
Good. And in doing so, it talks about the fact that council must give approval before any withdrawal is done, correct?
Yes.
Good. And that's why I asked whether that is adhered to.
Yes, that's why I said the council has given authority to the CEO and authority to its contracts committee and itself.
And where does council have that derive that authority?
Council can create any resolution it deems fit.
Must be in line with law. The regulate the authority for council to pass resolution must be in line with law, correct? And so which law authorizes council to pass a resolution to provide thresholds?
I believe this law is sufficient.
Which one?
The same law, money shall not be withdrawn from the general fund or other accounts of council unless the council has approved.
Did it talk about threshold? Does it talk about threshold?
No, but the council does a lot where the law is not specific. We create a lot of resolutions, like if we believe that it will make operation smooth, I was just drawing your attention because the financial manual, you refer to it a lot.
Right.
And I was wondering how come we never got a hold of it.
Right.
So that's why we did our research.
Right.
And through the officers who were in council, a lot of them said, well, it was never really published or gazetted, so it was never regulation. It was
I am not, in fact, addressing that issue. Like I said earlier, that we will find out if it's not gazetted, it's not gazetted.
Yes.
So these are the laws and regulations, and therefore we wouldn't when the issue of gazetting is public notice. So that's why I do not press on that.
Yeah.
So if you say it is not gazetted, certainly you will find out on that. And if it's not gazetted, that's fine. But that's why I said that if it is not gazetted, then and there's a requirement that is gazetted. Those legal arguments, I will not go into it. But which means going by your position, we are only left with the local government finance audit.
Yes.
That's why I said, which is not as flexible as the regulation,
Yes.
but which will not give me any other choice but to just follow strictly the act. Now, that's why I abandoned the regulation out of abundance of caution. So that if we are to do that, which I am going to do, we are left with no choice but to look at what the law says about withdrawals of monies. And so the withdrawals of monies as per section 13 does not discuss or highlight or provide the issues of threshold. Is that correct?
Yes.
Good. And so that if council now provides a threshold, it would not be in accordance with section 13 sub 2. Correct?
Yes.
Good. So that the thresholds, if the answer is that it is passed by the general council, now we want to be guided as to what is the legality of it. Because the law says for every decision of council, there has to be in line with the binding regulations and laws.
Yes, that's why I think you answered where you said the law is not flexible. So what the law is like the skeleton.
No, the regulation.
No, the law.
The act.
The act, yes. The act is not flexible. So the council creates resolutions to make it flexible. I'm not denying the fact that thresholds are important.
Right.
And they should be in place.
Right.
But what I'm drawing your attention to is the document you are relying on.
Yes.
Was not gathered as per the information I'm receiving.
Yes.
But if your question is whether thresholds are important because the law is rigid,
right.
Yes, I agree. The law is rigid, so thresholds are important.
Okay, so that's not the question. And I tend to agree with you when you say that, for instance, the regulation is not gazetted. So that's why I said for all those arguments, I wouldn't go into it because if it is not gazetted, it's not gazetted. And so when we find out that it's not gazetted, then it's okay. The follow-up is that we are only left with which is in fact the superseding law to our regulation. And so the superseding law, which is the act, in hierarchy form, does not provide for threshold. And as much as we want or we think thresholds are important, but you cannot have it if the law does not provide for it, right? Now, the question is, if section 32 sub 2 or any part of the Finance and Audit Act did not provide for thresholds, and council now have a threshold, what is the legality of that? What is the source of authority in coming up with a threshold when there is nowhere it is provided for in the act?
Yes, so the act provides that a financial manual, I think that's why the act provides for section 41.
Yes.
That the minister shall, in consultation with minister responsible for finance,
right,
by order published in Gazette,
yes,
prescribed a financial and accounting manual for control and management of financial business of councils,
right,
without prejudice to the generality of section 1.
right.
The financial manual shall make provision for the operation of financial departments of local authorities, procurement in accordance with the GPPA Act, and consistent with the rules and regulations under the Act. So we can, I don't want to read all of this, but like you've rightly said, that portion of the law is rigid.
Right.
So the manual is to make the law operational.
Right.
The problem is they created a manual, but they never gazetted
yes.
as per the Act.
Yes. Yes.
So if you want to rely on the Act alone, council will basically not make any transactions. But if you want to limit the argument on that section of the act, it would mean then all council transactions are not according to law.
Yes.
But if the manual was gazetted, which they did not do, and I think is a lapse, then those issues would not come up.
Yes, that's what I'm saying exactly. So the the binding effect of the regulation or manual, if it is not gazetted, is going to be decided, right? And so that's why I said, out of abundance of caution, we are only limiting ourselves with the act. Be it as it may, it can be favorable and not favorable. This is why we have manuals or regulations, is to kind of further explain certain things in in the superior law, right? And so that if we now disregard it out of caution, we don't have a choice, as rigid as the act may be, just to go by the act. And so if we have to go by the act, it now means that every payment that has to be made must be approved by council. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
And so that's why I asked the question. Now, have council been approving payments that, withdrawals that were made from the accounts of council?
We are not, and it's not possible.
Okay. So if that is the case, then that will be in contravention with section 13 sub 2.
Yes and no. Yes, in the fact that the section you mentioned, what is it?
32.
32.
13 sub 2.
13 subsection 2
Right.
Is a law on the premise that the financial manual would be taken into consideration.
Right.
So that's why I said my answer is yes.
Right.
True. If there's no financial manual, we would be in contravention of that. But then the financial manual was created but never gazetted.
Right.
So never furnished the councils to operate.
Right.
So I think that's the real problem here.
Exactly. So now, be it as it may, there was some form of approval in council. And so you had told us that there was a threshold of $500,000 subsequent.
Yes.
And I remember I had asked the question whether we have, because we see actually the SMTs and the regulation, the resolution that had said that the mayor would scrutinize every contract, every MOU, and every payment that is to be made that would have the effect of binding councils, right? And your answer was, but there was the threshold has changed to 500,000, and that was why I asked the last time we sat here whether we have a resolution or a council decision to that effect.
So yes, I think we've gone over the issues for several days.
Yes.
So what we could find was the finance committee
Right.
recommendation for reversal.
Right.
And that is what we've had in practice.
Okay. Let me see this, please.
I believe I submitted it. I believe I submitted it from the finance committee.
Recommendation. Do we know the exhibit number or the exhibits? We can please. Yes. Do you know the date of the finance committee? Do you have it? Because I can't have it on top of my head here. But aside from the finance committee recommendations, do you know whether council acted upon those recommendations?
So the last time we discussed the resolutions and we discussed the meeting minutes,
Right.
about 3 meeting minutes.
Right.
The issue was discussed.
The discourse.
I said, okay, now that committees are set up, they can continue.
Continue. Okay. But do we know whether a resolution was passed? It was not passed in the form of a resolution.
That we cannot find.
We cannot find. Now, the council itself,
Yes.
when let's assume they delegate powers to committees to give approvals. Have the finance committee been approving payments?
Contracts committee.
The contracts committee, have they been approving withdrawals?
I think the finance committee is the one that discusses withdrawals from accounts and finance.
Right.
I think contracts committee does the procurements.
Okay. So which of the committees now is delegated by council to approve withdrawals?
I wouldn't say delegated. I would say the finance committee does that role. where they discuss what payments can, in terms of cash flow management.
So, for instance, we see Sehu Sabali, a cashier, will sometimes withdraw $1 million, $2 million at one time, 3 million. It depends, like huge sums of withdrawals. So that should be. Am I going to say that should be cleared by the accounts committee?
No, so that one is payment of salaries.
Yes.
It's a practice we found in KMC. KMC has, I think, 400 daily paid workers. They are not salaried staff. The audit, I believe, in 2020 or so, raised the query that these staff should no longer be paid with cash and they should be paid through accounts.
Right.
So I think 4 months ago or 5 months ago, we passed a resolution as per the FPAC report that now all of them be paid through a bank.
Yeah. Now, exactly.
So just explain.
Go ahead.
Yes. Problem with daily pays, how it started. I believe it started under Yankuba Koli or like on was that there was a demand for temporary labor. That's why they say daily paid.
Yes.
And they would pay them daily, I think $50 a day, but gradually it has been increasing. And the reason they were not salaried, because the concept at the time was that you can use a daily paid today, day laborer, and tomorrow they might not come. But what we've seen recently is that the same daily pays are used for longer periods. So the right thing was that instead of paying them cash, they should be paid through their accounts.
Yes.
That's what FPAC brought to the notice of the council.
Yes. That's what they recommend. Now, those withdrawals that are perhaps salaries, because we don't know for certain whether all civil servants withdraw all of them are salaries. So for the ones that are salaries, they still fall within the regulation, that is the act, in relation to withdrawals of money from accounts, correct? They are also monies that are withdrawn from accounts of council.
Yes.
Good. Now, who clears those?
The CEO and Director of Finance.
And Director of Finance. Now, do they have the power to clear payments?
Yes, they're the chief accounting officers, and these are recurring expenses. They are not procurements, they are salaried workers.
Yes, but then we don't have where it states in the act that the CEO and the finance director, in the case of salary, in the case of salaries, that they can clear the withdrawals.
Yes, but I think it is implied.
How is it implied?
I think in terms of the operation of any organization,
Right.
goes without saying salaries must be paid.
Right.
And the CEO,
Right.
who is the chief accounting officer, should pay those salaries. The section you are referring to, like I said, is based on the fact that a finance manual should be in place.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
A finance manual is created, but unfortunately, I don't know what happened at the time, it was not gazetted, published, and shared with area councils. And that's why KMC created its own financial manual in 2017. But as per the way the law is left, it would look like it is unlawful. But operationally, I think is perfectly normal.
Exactly. So the way it is, because if you have you have had a threshold, and you said it is 500,000. We only see evidence of 100,000, but that's left for the commissioners to decide. But the issue regarding the threshold of, let's assume, is $500,000
For procurement.
Did it say for procurement or just for withdrawals?
KMC's case is procurement.
Procurement. Now, did the regulation, sorry, the recommendations state it is only for procurement?
I have to look at it again, but the 2017 financial manual which I submitted, I think is for procurement.
Procurement.
Yes, because I mean the recurring expenses like salaries, those things are approved in the budget. They must happen. That cannot come back to.
The same with procurement too. Procurement activities are approved in the budget. You have a procurement plan. It is stated in the budget. If you have to purchase 10 air conditioners, and then the CEO want to go beyond that would not be lawful. That would be contrary to budgetary allocations, correct?
If you have a budgeted item and the CEO wants to go over,
Yes.
He has to stay within the budget
Exactly.
unless there's appropriation.
Yes. So that's why I said, be it the salary or the procurement processes, they are all budgeted for.
But they're different. The reason procurement comes to the council, one is the selection of the vendor.
Right.
Two is the price at which a particular item is being bought. That has to be scrutinized. The quality of that item. So that's why, and the threat of corruption. So that's why those things have to come through a process. But with a salary, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. It's you sign a contract with an employee for a salary, and then it goes without saying that that is a recurring expenditure.
Now you can be paying ghost workers. We have seen the issue of ghost workers.
That's why we do HR audits.
Yes.
We had an issue of ghost workers when we arrived. We did an HR audit. We did a payroll audit. We did a headcount, and it's always an issue, but it's something we combat all the time.
Exactly.
So through audits, we combat those things.
Yes. So now the answer is the CEO and the finance director clear the payments for salaries.
Yes.
Good. Now we have also another payment here. Karamo Sisi, there was a resolution to pay Karamo Sisi, I think $2,000. But let me show you the voucher.
Yes, I can see it.
Guide the commission what that payment was for, because it was discussed at the General Council.
Yes. Although I don't see the council resolutions. So Councillor Karamosisi requested from the council that he was invited to China, and two members of his committee, Ward Development Committee, to Beijing for 2019 seminar for officials and business leaders of developing countries involved in machinery, which is slated for 28th June 2019 and to 18th July. So it's a 3-week program. In the view of the above, I hereby request financial support during our 3-week stay in China. May I put on record that the training of our representatives will acquire from this trip will go a long way in helping us reshape the development agenda. So he brought it to council, and the council passed a resolution in support of his trip. 26 June 2019, the council passed a resolution 4, having been informed that Talenting South Councillor will be traveling to Beijing for the 2019 seminar for officials and business leaders of developing countries involved in machinery, which is slated from 28 June 2019 to 18 July 2019. Members resolve that the councillor be given $2,000 for food and other expenses during the course of his stay. So Karamo wrote a letter to my office saying the World Development Committee under my leadership have secured a trip to China, and 2 members of the committee will be traveling to Beijing 2019 seminar for officials and business leaders 28 June 2019 to 18th July 2019. In view of the above, I hereby request for financial support during our 3-week stay in China. May I put on record that the training of our representatives will acquire from the trip, etc. So I ministered to CEO. CEO, please work with councillor on this. The organization will pay for travel and accommodation, but the team needs pocket money to help facilitate local transport. The CEO writes to the Director of Finance, approve payment of $2,000 as approved by the General Council. on its sitting of June 24, 2019 in favor of Karamo Sisi, Councillor for Talib Bensouda. And he's paid $100,800, which I believe at the time is the $2,000.
Now, was this budgeted for?
It says on its charge in our conference and Congress local and overseas budget.
For 2019, let me see. We have a budget here. Would you be in a position to guide us through the budget? I think I'm sure. Why? That's just me. 2018, 2018, I wanted.
Yes, there's on page 26.
26.
Yes, of the budget. Um, the page 26, you will see budget line 206, conference and congress local and overseas. The budget for 2019 is 3 million.
3 million for conference and overseas. Now, the emoluments for the councillors, they are differently approved from the normal staff, correct?
The emoluments
For councillors, is it not supposed to be approved by the ministry? Is it not supposed to be approved by the ministry, like the allowances of councillors?
Yes, the ministry.
Yes,
It's never happened.
it never happened, but the law says it has to be approved by the ministry, correct?
Monuments of councillors, yes.
Yes. Now, if you are, you, the council, is to pay a councillor, and considering in that case, the accommodation is taken care of, correct? Travel expenses are taken care of, correct?
Yes.
Now, what was it?
It says the organization will pay for travel, accommodation.
Yes. So what was it $2,000 for?
So the councillor requested for support because three of them.
Right.
For I guess local transportation, food, etc. So he requested to the council, and the council approved from its travel budget.
Yes, but would that be in line? Because is that the standard to every councillor, or three councillors that travel, their councils approved? You can call it per diem or whatsoever. Is $2,000? Is that the approved amount?
Yes. So that's why he brought it to the council.
Right.
In normal circumstance, he doesn't need to bring this to the council.
Right.
If you are traveling, the CEO will look at the rules and the normal practice,
Right.
discretion, whether to approve or not, and what amount. For example, if you're traveling and your accommodation and your flight ticket is being taken care of by the organization, usually I think the $500 is what the council gives. But in this case, because it's an unusual request, he's going with his team. He's come to ask for the council, and the council has resolved to support from its travel budget. It's in line.
What would be the regulation for the $500?
Well, I've not seen the regulation, but the CEO, the new CEO, not even the old, the new CEO told us that that's the norm. Because what we've been seeing is a lot of organizations are paying for our flight tickets, and they're also paying for accommodation, but people are still requesting for per diem.
Yes.
And the essence of per diem is to pay for your accommodation as well. Right. So he said based on the standards, according to him, you should receive a $500 support if your accommodation is paid, no matter the duration of your trip.
Did he provide the council with evidence of justifying that $500?
No, I'm not saying he's brought it to council. I'm saying in his approval.
Yes.
All these approvals are within his power. That's what he says, because I've seen him argue with councillors. Because if a councillor goes for, let's say, 5 days, they would want the 200 and it's 200 pounds per day.
Yes.
So they will want the £1,000. And the CEO said, no, I cannot give you the £1,000 because your accommodation is being paid for and your flight ticket. The statutory amount I should give you is $500. So I've had those arguments come to my office between the CEO and council.
Yes. My worry is the CEO should provide council with, because this is council's money. And if the CEO says, for instance, the amount to give is $1,000 or $2,000 or any amount, and we assume, for instance, he is the custodian of the accounts and he knows best without scrutiny, then we would be approving money. There's a chance that it will be probably not in accordance with regulation.
No, so within the CEO's threshold, he has the discretion. Now, if audit report or a committee flags that what he's done is not in accordance, then they will bring it to the right committee or the right council. That's why I said they're the accounting officers. So he's trying to save the council money.
Yes.
In those circumstances, because people, in his view, want to double dip. Because you're already paid your accommodation, why should I also pay you full per diem when per diem should have your accommodation? But according to him, which I've never verified, I've just listened to him because he's saving council money. And according to him, that's the standard.
That's the new CEO.
That's the new CEO.
Passet Sisi.
Yes.
Now the CEOs then, what was the norm in council before the new CEOs?
So the influx of paid for trips has really happened later,
Yes.
as the council has gained more international recognition. For example, for me, the last 3-4 trips I've gone is fully paid for international organizations. But now councillors also are getting those trips. We even have a councillor recently who's going to Barcelona. So the same thing applies. Now on this specific voucher, that's why it's within the power of the CEO because it's $100,000. He could have gone to the CEO could have paid this without coming to the general council. But because of the nature of the request, he wants to take members of his WDC and he's coming to the council for support. So the council resolves that they will support.
Now, what was council paying him?
The council was supporting him on the journey because they're staying for 3 weeks.
Yes.
For local transport, food, logistics, etc.
Which is already been paid for.
No, it's
by them. But your minutes, and I believe the letter states that travel is taken care of.
That's the flight ticket.
Right. But the travel, if we all travel, so for instance, if you are invited by organizers outside the Gambia, is their responsibility to pay for your travel. It includes your flight ticket and your movement to your hotel.
No, not really.
Not really. In this case,
I've been in tons of this. I travel maybe 3-4 times a year.
Right.
It depends on the organizer. Some will accommodate your travel to your hotel.
Anyway, let me have the voucher whilst you give your evidence.
Does don't. Just depends on the organizer. But in your terms of your local movement, they don't on your.
So $2,000 by 3 will be 666.7 correct?
For 20 days.
For 20 days. And you don't have any form of guidelines during this period at council level that is approved in relation to travel. So it is just council's decision to pay this amount.
In this unique request.
Why is the request unique?
Because like I said, it's not a standard. The CEO said it's not a standard request. It would be up to the council. And council is the custodian of funds, so they debate and decide.
All right. They end up traveling, do you know?
I think so, yes.
Now we have the resolution or the recommendations from the accounts committee, I believe, that you drew to our attention, signed by Karam Musise, the chairman finance committee. Why is the very fast?
Yes.
Is that the one you're referring to? Yes. Would you mind please reading that?
As of 2nd July 2018, Cardiff Municipal Council, sorry, to the address to the Lord Mayor, subject update and recommendation from the Finance Committee meeting. Following the General Council meetings held on 31st May 2018 and 28 June 2018, the Finance Committee wishes to advise your office regarding the approval thresholds for council expenditures. The committee has observed that the resolution of 31st May 2018 contradicts the provisions of the KMC Accounting Policy and Procedures Manual, specifically section 6.2.4, which governs council purchases and expenditures. In this regard, we recommend that the resolution granting mayor authority to be part of the approving threshold for the expenditures be reviewed and aligned with the aforementioned section of the manual. Respectfully submitted, Karamo Sise.
So which section did they want the resolution to align with?
This is section 6.2.4 of the KMC financial
manual. Do we have that? The
KMC submitted.
KMC financial manual. By the way, is that one too binding? Is it also gazetted?
No, I said that's not gazetted. Both manuals are
Not gazetted. But we'll still want to know what it says. But did it talk about $500,000 in this one? I mean,
in the manual is referring to.
okay.
6.2.4.
Now, let me read it. It says KMC procurement is fully centralized products purchases, whether through competitive tendering procedures or by request for quotations or single sourcing shall be made through the procurement unit. Some of the benefits of the centralization include the following. Effective and efficient inventory control and material usage is possible. Record keeping is reduced and at the same time made significantly more effective. Duplication of efforts is minimized by the central coordination of all council's purchases. Departmental managers do not have to spend time purchasing. They can devote their time and effort to their core responsibility. Centralization develops purchasing specialism, which leads to more efficient buying. Now, the threshold for procurement says to $10,000 is single source, says the CEO. 10,000 and 1 to 500,000 requests for minimum of 3 and maximum of 5 quotations to the CEO. Now 501,000 to 1 million, that is tender restricted upon the contracts committee. Above 1 million and below, tender restricted upon contracts committee. Now 10 million and above, international tendering contracts committee and GPPA. So this is what the manual you guys have in KMC in relation to procurement. Good. Now, in the beginning of our discussion, the first day, I remember I had said this to you. I had this discussion with all the mayors and chairmen. Now, the authority for withdrawal, authorizing payment, is different from the methods of procurement. Now, procurement is a process. Now, when a particular mode of procurement is to be approved, let's say, for instance, request for quotation, the CEO can request for quotation. That's what the GPA law says. But now, when it comes to now authorizing expenditure, that is different from what procurement is talking about. But we don't even need to go to that because the manual you have said is also not gazetted.
Yes.
So that the adherence to the manual as well will not be lawful. I mean, same rule applies with the ministerial manual.
I think there are guidelines, even if they're not gazetted. They're trying to show the council what is the best possible way to manage its finances.
Right.
So, like I said, legality or not, is the circumstances around it.
Right.
And what is evident is that a lot of work needs to be done as far as regulation and manuals are concerned,
Okay.
and to streamline the laws. Because if you talk about the section, I forgot the section you were talking about, but in terms of the withdrawals lead, all of
13 sub 2 of the Act.
everybody knows council, that's not practical. It's not possible. Council meets once a month, and there's so many operational expenses.
Right.
Like I said, 11,000 vouchers during our time there. So what is evident is that there's loopholes in the whole local government system that
Right.
happens.
Good. Now, did you engage the ministry in developing this manual?
The 2017 one,
Yes.
I was not in the council at the time, but it's in the top page. I think there's a letter addressed to the ministry, I believe. It's issued May 2017.
Right.
So it says a hard copy was sent to the Ministry of Lands and Local Government.
Good. So, but we don't have approval because there's no gazette.
To be perfectly honest with council, the ministry is not functioning.
We have our own problems with the ministry. They testified here. I wish you had time to go and listen to the question with the permanent secretary. I think Buba Sanya. We would not ratify and say that all the things they have done were correct. Even with the issue you had with the ministry, you had a judgment with the ministry KMC, and some of the issues we told the minister, the commission, reflects in the judgment. The idea that the communications must pass from the councils through the ministry is not correct. And we had said this before the judgment. It's not correct. That's it. And then some of the things you guys have done at KMC, we also think it was wrong. So as well, be it as it may, that is our opinion at this level, at the investigations level, so that we find fault from both the actions of the ministry at the time, under Basanya, making some demands that must be followed, and under KMC as well. So that is, we will get to those things. So we will leave the issue of the manual, the 2017 manual for now. Now I have a question in relation to, unless we have questions for this, the $2,000 and others to buy. I have a question in relation to the setting up of KMT, Cardiff Municipal Transport. Can you please give us a background as to how it was set up?
So KMT was an idea because what had happened was when I sit in my office at Westfield, I have a panoramic view. It's a very nice view. I see all of Westfield. Every morning I see the struggle. And almost every morning there's a fight, physical fight at the cooperative junction, fighting for vehicles going to Banjul. And for the longest time, I observed that we have an urban transportation issue. So I discussed it at the General Council. Having lived in many cities and having traveled around the world, cities have public transport systems. I lived in Toronto, they have the TTC. And in London, they have Transport for London. And I believe a lot of us who have traveled have seen the benefit of affordable, efficient, accessible urban transportation. So we discussed it as a general council that we want to be the first Gambian city to be able to bring urban transport solutions. So we passed the resolution in line with the Bakote Fish Market or KMM now, that the council can set up enterprises. And then we decided to resolve to set up a municipal transport company. But of course, the first challenge is how do we get the necessary resources and the capital injection. So then there was discussions around how do we attract investments or partners. So through the contracts committee, we advertise EOI, which is an expression of interest, usually to test an idea, whether it is feasible or not. You advertise an expression of interest to see if you're going to get any proposals. So when we advertise an expression of interest, I believe, I cannot remember how many we got, but one particularly was No Fly. No Fly was a company that was set up by a gentleman, I forgot his name, who previously worked for the Gambia Transport Services Corporation. And he branched off and set up his own private company. And he wrote a proposal that he was interested in partnering with KMC through our expression of interest. The matter then went to the contracts committee. The contracts committee brought the proposal to council. I believe No Fly himself presented at the general council, and the general council resolved to get into partnership with him. Unfortunately, though, he was the one supposed to bring in the capital injection, and he couldn't. So after a few years, the council resolved to nullify the agreement because he could not reach his side of the bargain.
All right.
You want me to continue?
No. Now the board, how were they appointed?
The board is appointed through the office of the mayor.
How many of them initially?
The number initially, I remember maybe 4 or 5, including the CEO.
Can you give us the names?
Off the top of my head, there was Ajiyamu Jain.
Yes.
She was the former operations manager at GTSC. There was Momo Dubba, if I remember. He's a consultant responsible for the setting up of GPTC,
Right.
and he's a fleet management expert. There's Aliu Sengor. Aliu Sengor is an investment specialist, I believe, and
Yes.
later he was the chairman of the board. The fourth one, I believe, was the councillor responsible for transportation. The CEO and the council lawyer are automatic members because the CEO represents the council on all its boards, and the lawyer is there as, to guide legally.
Now, what factors did you have in place to guide you in relation to appointing the board members?
Board members is based on referrals, is based on recommendation, is based on looking at CVs, etc., to determine the governance structure.
So you receive referrals from people?
Yes, I ask around, I call around. The council gave me the mandate, so I started asking around. I'm connected to a lot of experts, and it's hard because it's almost voluntary, given that they sit quarterly and they pay them only 5,000. So it's based on
Okay.
referral.
Now, the board chair, we have an issue of a possible conflict of interest. I'm not sure whether you've noticed this. The board chair, Ali Sengo, you've known him prior to this?
Yes, I know Ali.
How do you know Ali?
I know Aliu as an expert in finances. I've I've basically just around. I've known him around. Yeah.
Okay. And you know the relationship between Aliu and Yasin Sengo, the council?
At the time of appointing, no, but after, that's when I discovered that the Ali is related to Yasser. They are also related to the CEO of Trust Bank.
Yes,
So it's a prominent family.
exactly.
Yeah, after the fact is when
When was this? When precisely?
at some point, I believe it came up at some point, but it was not when during the time I was appointing.
Okay. Was it up to a year?
I cannot remember.
You can't read
It came up in conversation.
the conversations. And what did you do?
Nothing, because there's no conflict of interest. I appointed them separately. Aliu cannot. Uh, uh, I appointed them separately.
So you were saying something. Ali cannot perhaps do what?
Well, Ali cannot influence my appointing of Yasin, or Yasin cannot influence my appointing
True,
of Yasin.
true.
I did it separately.
But in the operations of the board itself, where you have the board chair and the secretary to the board, and so would you not think that that would be a conflict in their day-to-day operations?
No, I don't see it.
Okay, did you ask? Did you find out to have legal advice in relation to? Because the secretary, I can tell you, is not the usual secretary. The legal secretary of the board, you will be told, is a very powerful individual. And her alone, Mr. Gore, can tie the board to very important obligations and liabilities by her actions. The board chair too, we have seen in the documents have taken actions and wrote letters and here and there. Do you think it's advisable to have the two of them? One, as you know, one of the most important roles is the board chair, and the other also as well a very significant role, and is the board secretary.
No, there's no conflict. I've seen family members in many boardrooms sitting together. I've seen family members in many public institutions working together.
In a board,
In any
public board.
departments, in units, in boards. The board secretary is there to take minutes, is there to organize the meetings of the board. The chairman is there to lead the board in terms of governance and policy decisions, and the management is answerable to the board. So the secretary, in her role as an advisor, in her role as in terms of organizing the meetings, I don't see any apparent.
That's why I tell you, maybe it is a limited knowledge when it comes to the role of the secretary. Like I said earlier, the secretary is not just the usual secretary that you and I will have in our offices. The legal secretary is different.
Well, with respect, I was a secretary to a board for 5 years.
With the
I
legal secretary,
understand. Well, he's not a legal secretary per se. He's a lawyer to the council.
right,
So we wanted guidance
right,
in terms of the governance in the board,
right.
but we did not appoint her as a legal secretary.
Even with the term secretary to the board itself. Now I am telling you, and you can confirm this. So I just want to know whether this was within your knowledge or not, because the powers of the secretary to the board or company is just significant. The actions of the secretary, this is tested already, and a decision made about it already. And the lawyers know, I think, if you are a lawyer, you will know, like the secretary is just too powerful. And Ms. Senghor, being the secretary, by her own making, with even not having a clear signature from the rest of the board, have some tendency of binding the board in relation to very important liabilities or actions. That is one aspect of it. And there you have I don't know whether it's the elder brother or the younger brother, being the board chair. So the two of them, either separately or jointly, can connive to bind the board in relation to very important issues that will cause perhaps liabilities to the board. Did you find that? Did you ask for legal advice on this issue?
Connivance doesn't need family relations. People connive every day. You don't have
Yes,
to be somebody's family.
true,
Connivance is about integrity of the person.
true.
And I think these two are both people of high integrity.
I agree.
Secondly, like I said, I was a secretary for many years. The secretary is the least powerful person in that board. He's not a director.
Yes.
The secretary should not even be talking unless
Right.
asked specifically for their opinion. So, like I said, the secretary has no power.
Okay.
There's no conflict of interest because they did not appoint each other.
We would not go into the role of the secretary. Like as I have said, that's why I asked whether you have had advice on this and perhaps whether there is any apparent conflict, because what we the someone may interpret conflict to be for the lawyers, the role of the secretary is totally different, 100% different. But we won't go into that. I mean, that's just a settled position in the law. The Senghor certainly knows this. And then now the question about the connivance. When it is not, you don't have um, an opportunity, when you don't have the possibility of connivance, that's different. But when now you know two people are related by blood and are part of a board, that is evidence right there to suggest that we want to avoid possible conflict. That is why the question was whether you deem it fit. If the answer is no, that's okay. But whether you deem it fit to seek for advice as to whether it is okay to have the board chair or the board member and the secretary to be from the same parents, to be more specific.
So, like I said, I was a secretary. I don't need advice on the matter. Secondly, sometimes when people who are related work together, there's even a stronger chance that there will be no connivance because then they will want to protect their integrity and their family's name. When there's an issue, I would agree, for example, if the situation came up where the board wants to pay Ali or the board wants to pay Yasin, then one of them should recuse themselves from that conversation. But if they partake in that
Why?
because that is what conflict is defined. If you are directly or indirectly benefiting from a decision you are making, but relating relations to somebody cannot tantamount to
So if issues of paying a lieu, you are saying Yasin should recuse himself.
yes.
But now who steps in as a secretary? Then you have a vacuum. There has to be a secretary.
So Yasin, as a lawyer, cannot make any decisions.
So I agree with you.
That's what I'm saying. In a discussion around payment of value,
Yes.
she can keep quiet or she can leave the meeting, is up to her. But like I said, conflict of interest amounts to you directly or indirectly being part of a conversation where a decision would benefit you directly.
It's okay. I have said we will leave that to the commissioners. But I'm just saying, going by what you said, that if there's for instance, a payment about Aliu, then Yasin should leave the room or keep quiet. If Yasin leaves the room, we don't have a secretary.
I did not say physically. I said recuse her. It can be not be part of the conversation. But one thing's for sure, a secretary is never part of the conversation in a board meeting.
All right. Now, the KMT, you have funded, I mean,
Mayor Bensuda, for further clarification,
yes.
do you think, um, um, looking at the rules on the good governance, do you think it's elegant to have had the secretary and the board chair being related? Because if you look at the possibility of um, some tacit understanding when it comes to issues, there is a high probability. Do you agree?
Can you rephrase?
What I'm saying is that in governance,
Yes.
do you think it's elegant to have allowed the board chair, who is directly related by blood to the the secretary of the company, and at the same time, the secretary of the company serves as legal counsel to the company, which makes it, you know, a little bit, if you may agree with me, a little bit difficult, because when you have issues to deal with that particular company, you have to resort to high legal expertise to advise you. Is that not the case?
Yes.
And if decisions are to be taken at the level of the board. And she has to report on these issues. You are saying that she would not have an informed and a formed opinion about the issues?
So if
Because I was listening to your evidence and what counsel was saying. The fact is that you have been telling us that her role as the secretary, she is not supposed to say anything. Her role is just to take minutes and do what is required under the company's law as a secretary to the institution, right? But then her residual knowledge, her knowledge of what has transpired, would it not have an impact or an effect on her legal opinioning if things come to her table for her to give legal opinion? Would it not have an impact?
it would not, because it's not a personal company of Aliu. Aliu does not have any shares in the company. Aliu is serving just like she's serving. Like I've said, I've seen husband and wife work in the same office, in the same public institution. But when it comes to the personal benefit of either or, one should not be in a position to make a decision. But then again, even if Yasin was not a secretary in the board, and we as KMC wanted to take Aliu to court, we can still not use Yasin because they are related. We will still have to.
But she's the one that is advising you, Mayor Bensouda. She's the one that is advising you on all the legal matters that you have to deal with.
No, but if you are,
Or in anticipation of what can go wrong, because it's a legal entity that's going to be bounded by transactions here and there and all that,
yeah.
and possible conflicts of interest with other issues. So,
Yeah.
as per elegance, do you think it was okay?
So Yasin's role on the board is not to give counsel legal advice on what is happening in the board. Her role on the board is to work with the board and give that board legal advice.
Yes,
But
but
in a
but
case,
but, but my take is that there will be a thin line
so
in that circumstance.
so what I'm trying to,
And I think you will do agree with me that there will be a thin line in that circumstance.
sometimes I feel like if a family member is there, it can be even stronger. But let me just give an example. If we had a problem with Ali, whether be he's a board member, board chair, or any, we could not still retain Yasin for that case. We even have a case where a debtor who owed us $7 million refused to pay us. We asked Yasin to go after that debtor, and she said, I cannot, because I am related to that debtor. You will have to find another lawyer because that's a conflict of interest. You cannot expect me to act in your best interest to go against that debtor. But in this case, they're not going against anything. They're just collaborating to bring benefits to the council. But then again, like I said, when I was appointing Alim and Yasin, that did not come to me that they were related. Of course, someone who knows. But after, through our deliberation, Ali told me, oh, Yasin is my sister. And I was like,
Was this ever tabled at the level of the council?
no, because it never came across as an issue.
Council didn't proceed.
Yes, I believe to just to highlight that point, the witness has given his answer. I appreciate the understanding from the witness's position regarding the role of the secretary, and is quite different from what you and I will understand, and of course, the lawyers as to who the secretary would be um, in in the company or institution. So, the secretary, I think, is tried very clear. It's not arguable, in fact, that can bind the company or institution. But of course, we will appreciate. We have appreciated the evidence of the witness, but that would not be the position of what the law is in relation to who the secretary is. Times have changed. The courts have deliberated on this issue, and they have told us the secretary then and the secretary now are totally different animals altogether. The secretary now is very powerful, and so it will be a problem. But we can just proceed with the line of questioning. Now, KMT Now, the money is 2019. When did you uh, incorporate KMT?
The discussion started early 2018, 2019, but incorporation may have been 2020.
2020. Now, have they been operational?
In terms of delivering the bus service?
Yes.
No, not yet. They have a board, it's a governance structure.
Do we have a financial statement or expenditure statement to know how much they have spent between 2020 or 2019 to date to 2023?
I believe they submitted the audited accounts, the
Accounts.
financial statement.
Correct. Now, have the issue of KMT been discussed at council level subsequent at any point?
Several.
What is the position of council considering the fact that it has still not been operational?
Well, there's impatience, there's an agitation, there's, of course, a burning desire to see it happen, but there's a frustration. I am the most frustrated because I've gone all around the municipality telling constituents that we want to bring this bus service as soon as possible, but we struggle with the laws. The laws do not avail us the opportunity to go out and borrow or to raise bonds. Usually, when you have large projects, you can raise municipal bonds. The central bank structure does not allow for municipal bonds yet. So there's been a lot of looking for funds, grant funding, looking for investment, looking for loans from banks. But so far, we've reached dead ends. We've had offers for partnership, but we thought they were not feasible.
All right. Now, on top of your head, do you know how much money was spent on KMT?
So the council subsidized two of its companies, KMT and KMM, with 5 million each. I think in 2021 or 2020. But I guess you know about Charles Jow. We subsidized.
Yes, yes.
So we subsidized two of the companies to get them to begin their framework.
Good. Now, Ms. Senghor advises country, correct? How do you receive communications from the KMT?
We receive from the chairman of the board of directors, the CEO, and the transportation council.
Councillor. Now, the secretary has as the chairperson have asked, has the role as well to write, just for the basic secretarial duties to write to council should they need anything.
No, not the secretary.
Not the secretary.
The chairman or the CEO.
Or the CEO. Now, if you want advice as to the legality of what they are requesting for, who advises you?
If you want advice for legality, we can ask the council lawyer.
Who is a council lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And he sits as a secretary to the board.
Yes.
And if he had already advised the board that what they want is legal, would the advice not be a duplicate now, coming back to you and you've asked her opinion?
There's never an instance where we ask yes in legal advice from KMT unless when we were setting it up.
Yes, I understand. I'm just now saying if council wants to ask questions and then maybe there's a request from KMT or communications from KMT, whether it's operational or otherwise, based on within their mandate. And you want to know the legality of certain things before you embark on it. Now, you will ask, you have said, the council lawyer was Yasin Senghor. Now, Yasin Senghor might have already ratified those actions, might have already contributed positively to those actions. And then now what you are asking, the person to ask is the same person that sits on the board as a secretary. Would that not have a duplicatory effect?
Well, we believe it's streamlined. All the directors, including the secretary, are representing the council as a shareholder. So we would expect that they would ask the secretary legal advice before they write anything to the council.
Exactly. So when they ask their secretary legal advice and their secretary okays it, now council does not necessarily have to be convinced with that position that is taken by the board, correct?
Not necessarily.
Good. So if council is not sure and now wants to have a second opinion, they have one lawyer that is Yasin Senghor. of
Yes.
council. And now they ask the same lawyer who that was asked the secretary, the board. And would you not have the same answer, which will not independently be scrutinized by an independent lawyer? You see my point.
So I think the lawyer being there streamlines whatever request they have to us.
Right.
Asking this, we expect the lawyer to give them advice because
Right.
remember they are all representing us.
Right.
The people we are really concerned about is not the board. What we are concerned about is the operators.
Right.
So the board is supposed to exercise oversight
Right.
on the operators.
Yes.
You understand? So basically, those guys are representing the council, whether
Right.
it be in a legal capacity, governance capacity, policy capacity.
Yes.
So we would expect that the advice would be the same.
Exactly. So if it is the same, that is counterproductive. It may be counterproductive, not it is counterproductive, it may be counterproductive in some instance where the advice given to KMT is now duplicated to the council when the council would have needed independent legal eye to see whether the council should go by the decisions of the board. So would it not be more, would you not have a more tidier operational structure where you have, they have their own secretary and then you have your own lawyer who will now perform a more independent duty in scrutinizing the companies. You may not have thought this before, but I'm just saying hindsight.
It's good that we're discussing.
Yes.
I think it's subjective. I think council always looks at ways we can create efficiency, we can create affordability, and we can reduce duplications.
Right.
In terms of what is tidy or seems tidy,
Yes.
I think if the lawyer advised us and we believe that we need a second opinion,
Right.
we can go for that second opinion.
True.
I believe our judgment at the time was about efficiency.
Oh yes. So the second opinion would have perhaps go to someone else, right? Another lawyer would be
It
asked.
felt like just like auditors or consultants.
Okay. I believe this is a convenient point for the day. Madam Chair, I had thought that we would close at sharp one. It appears we'll come back.
To this issue of yes and so on. Don't you think there is a fiduciary duty uh, that she owes?
He said there's a fiduciary.
That fiduciary duty that she owes to the country and to the company.
If you can define it more detailed.
The I believe that um, the fiduciary duty I'm talking about reference the fact that it includes undivided loyalty. That is one. Confidentiality. That is two. Avoidance of conflict of interest. That's the fiduciary duty I'm talking about.
Right. So I believe like I said, the board and KMC are one of the same. Who we would not consider as part of KMC is the management of the company, but the board is there to represent KMC oversight and governance of that company, and Yasin is making up that oversight and governance structure. So I believe the loyalty is in line, the fiduciary responsibility is in line. But then again, I mean, KMC is always open to advice, is always open to opinions, how we could better improve governance. But from my perspective and at face value of the council, it never came up as an issue. If he hasn't had raised it that she couldn't work with the brother, then that would have come up as an.
Well, my concern is that I have this corporate governance concern, which could rather um, perhaps undermine the integrity of the board decision, especially if the legal secretary advises the board or drafts resolutions, etc. So, but you have given your answer. We will look at it.
Okay.
Council, yes. Is it a convenient point to stop?
To stop.
Yes.
My apologies. I thought that we would not come
Right.
back. Yes.
And sorry, before we rise, did you check with him whether he had brought in documents?
Yes, I have documents.
Yes, let us collect those documents and
We come in at 2. We can admit them when we come back.
okay.
Yes.
All right.
So.
All right. We may rise.